If you have a newborn, you may be wondering, when are they going to start moving? Well, the answer is probably in the not too distant future. One of the first ways in which our babies move is by rolling. Rolling is a really important milestone to look out for a particular safety reason that I will come on to later in this video. But of course, it's also a fun milestone to watch out for our babies. Now, the term milestone is a little bit contentious and I don't always like using it because it gives you the idea that your baby has to do things at a certain stage or else it's not normal and something to worry about. That's not necessarily true. However, most babies will start to roll over around about the 3 or 4 month mark up to around the 6 month mark. And I've got my little helper baby here with me. So the first way that your baby will roll typically is actually this way. So when they're on their tummy, they will roll from front to back. And then when they're a little bit older, they will roll from back to front. The reason for that is generally because rolling from front to back is easier for babies than rolling from back to front. So front to back rolling happens sometimes in a kind of a reflex movement when our babies are really quite small, often when they're doing some tummy time. So they're on the floor, on their tummies, on their play mats, and they might push up and kind of accidentally roll over. Of course, that is rolling and it's fantastic and exciting, but it's not intentional rolling, which is what we're specifically talking about. So that tends to happen more around the 3-4 month mark that babies will intentionally roll from their front to their back. Again, that tends to be the first type of rolling because it's easier for them to push over from that tummy time position onto their back. When they're rolling from their back onto their front, then that's a more complex move because it involves using their flexor muscles, their stomach muscles, their core muscles, and they really have to work a lot harder to be able to roll over. You might see signs that your baby is starting to do this when they are laying on their backs. If they bring up their legs and maybe they're playing with their toes or they're bringing up their knees towards their chest, maybe they start to tip over and roll onto their side. And then eventually they will work out how to roll onto their fronts. This rolling from back to front tends to happen a little bit later, more around the 6 month mark. However, with some babies, and I know lots of you have talked to me about this on my Instagram before, where we talk lots about baby play and development, that your babies have actually done it the other way around and rolled from back to front first rather than from front to back. So it really does depend on your baby and the type of movement and style that they prefer. This is not a skill that we need to teach. Babies can learn to roll automatically without us needing to do anything. However, there are things that you can do if you want to give your baby a little bit more encouragement and the free space in which to be able to learn to roll over more quickly and easily. Okay, let's just talk safety for a second. I mentioned just before that rolling is a milestone that you need to watch out for a safety reason. And that is because once your baby starts to roll or actually starts to show any sign of rolling, if you swaddle them, you need to stop. That is, of course, because it is not safe if they are swaddled and in the middle of the night, they roll over onto their fronts and then they get stuck and they cannot use their arms to get themselves back. So if your baby is around the age of 4 to 6 months, you need to really be watching out for this rolling. And as soon as you start to see the signs, them lifting up their legs, them trying to tip over onto their sides, axe the swaddling because it's just not safe anymore. So how can you encourage or teach this rolling? Well, there are plenty of things that you can do to aid your baby's rolling. As I said before, you can't really teach it, but you can help them. And one of those ways is through lots of free movement time on the floor. So just allowing them to be on their playmat or on a soft surface on the floor will be really beneficial because then they can just move in whichever way they please and you don't have to encourage them to move one way or another. They can do whatever they like. A soft padded surface, of course, is best, especially if babies are starting to roll, because we don't want them to roll and bang their heads. This actually does change, for crawling. So if you want to know about crawling, then make sure you're subscribed because that is the next video that I'm going to do in this series. Another great thing that you can do for your baby is tummy time. Now you may be internally screaming at this because lots of babies hate tummy time and they cry as soon as you put them onto their tummies on the floor. I have in fact not one but 2 videos all about different ways that you can do tummy time that will stop your baby from hating it, and I will link those down in the description below, but also at the end of this video. So once you've finished watching this one, you can go straight on to watching those. Tummy time is a really great way of allowing your baby to build up their core strength, their neck strength, their muscles in their front, which obviously they need not only for rolling, but then of course those muscles are the ones that they use for crawling, for walking, for all other types of physical movement. Now, when your baby is on their back like this and they're trying to roll over, you will notice that they kind of crane their head up and will look to the side often because that's how they're trying to move their body over. So you can harness that by putting a toy up here, just slightly out of their reach, so that they have to move their head and crane their head to look at the toy, and then that will automatically start to pull them over towards that toy, and then they suddenly get the idea, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Now, it's not about teaching babies, but sometimes when they suddenly realise, I can move my body this way, that really helps them then to be able to practice that skill, and they will want to practice it on their own, often at night time when they're supposed to be sleeping. So grab your baby's favourite toy, a noisy one of those crinkly toys, something with bright colours or high contrast patterns, and put it just here out of their reach so they have to turn their head when they're on their back to look at it, because then that will obviously automatically make them turn their body. You can also use your hands just to give them a slight little nudge if you want to, as they are having a go at rolling over, again just to give them that idea that, this is how I have to move to get onto my front. Another thing that you can do is time without clothes. This is because our babies, when they're really small, they don't actually know where their hands and their feet are. And it's taken them a while to learn, I actually own this hand and this foot and they're mine and I can move them. Giving our babies time without clothes not only means that they're less restricted by their outfits, but also that they can really feel their bodies and they can feel how their bodies connect to each other part, but also to the floor and the space around them. Giving your baby time without clothes during that free floor time that I mentioned earlier is a fantastic thing to do. This doesn't have to be for a long time. Just before or after the bath is the perfect time. For a few minutes, let them roll around or try to roll around, and then it will just help them to explore their environment further. If your baby has started to roll and they have all of a sudden stopped, then don't worry, that is completely developmentally normal. Often babies will start doing a skill, any one of the milestone skills, and then all of a sudden they'll stop. That's just the way that their brains work. Progression doesn't go like this in babies, it's very much up and down. And so they'll start doing something and then they'll stop for a while and then they'll pick it up later down the line. Their brains are just developing everything. So there's no need to worry if your baby has started and then stops all of a sudden. If your baby hasn't rolled by around, I would say, the 6-7 month mark, and I mean that they are not even trying to roll, then it might be worth mentioning it to your health visitor. It's probably absolutely nothing to be concerned about, but sometimes it can just be an indicator that they're struggling with some aspects of their physical development and they just need a little bit of help. Here's that tummy time video for you. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on the crawling video coming up soon and all my other videos on baby play and development. Thank you for watching and I will see you all soon. Bye.